need.
Oh, okay. I'll let you know. Or maybe I won't. Hello, we're live. Welcome everyone to Hidden Existence. And it's anything goes. And I hope everybody is doing all right out there tonight. How are you, Jason?
I cannot complain. I'm going to be honest. Everything's groovy over here on this side. Now, that being said, I'm actually hoping we're getting a little bit of rain from this hurricane, but there's a lot of people in Louisiana and Mississippi right now who are going to get hit pretty hard. So let's
Yeah,
keep
it's not
them in
good.
our thoughts.
Yeah, it's not good. I was just in BIGFOOT ODYSSEY and people were
Mhm.
commenting in the chat that they're getting affected by uh, this weather that's coming. Bad weather. We just luckily don't have anything like this over here. So
Yeah.
I feel sorry for people that are going through it. So again, hello to everybody in the chat. We weren't here last week, were we? I feel like we've
No,
missed it. We did miss a week, didn't we?
we did. Yes.
We've had a lot going on. I've had a lot going on. I thought we'd just start tonight with something that's happened to me, my kind of family this week, and I don't know if I'm trying to raise awareness or at least get this conversation going.
Mhm.
Like my dad actually had a stroke a couple of days ago, and I went to see him. He didn't know it happened. Actually, he'd fallen over a few times, and he'd run me the next morning to come and see him, and he'd run the doctor in the meantime to come out to him because he said his legs were really weak and aching, and that's
Mhm.
all he was aware of. So when I got there in the morning, I it did look a little bit rough, and um, his voice was a little bit weak. But I just thought, my dad's 78, so
Right.
and he's had these falls, so okay, he's feeling a bit fragile. Anyway, I got him downstairs and decided to make him something to eat while we waited for the doctor. Made him a sandwich, which I realise now after doing a little bit of research that you should never give someone who's just had a stroke any food or drink. I mean, you don't know these things, you know.
Mhm.
What do we? Are we supposed to know these things? Um, we should know these things. I mean, like, I don't know. I wish I'd have
Right.
known now, but still, anyway, it's all part and parcel of learning, isn't it? And experiencing these things. But I tried to give him this sandwich, and he was basically just choking on it because another
Mm.
symptom of stroke is that your throat starts to narrow and swallowing. And as he's like, I'm trying to get him to drink something, and he's saying I've not been able to drink for a couple of days, not been able to take my tablets. So at that point now, I'm looking at him and I see there's a slight thing going on the left hand side of his mouth, only
Mhm.
very slightly. And all I know is that if you know someone's had a stroke, is ask them to if they can raise their arms up and ask them to smile to see if
Mhm.
their face is even, if it does it evenly. And it was slightly off, but I was still a little bit. Anyway, when the doctor arrived, and I suggested to the doctor, I think he might have had a stroke, and she used the lines here on his face from the nose down to the mouth. He has these more prominent lines,
Mhm.
and on the left hand side it ended here, and this one had carried on. And she said, absolutely, he's had one. So we got into hospital, and yeah, he's had a stroke. And I just didn't realise, the the symptoms. We don't,
Mhm.
do we?
No.
And
Well,
so I'm just
I
kind of saying, to
yeah.
people, just if you've got any oldies
Mhm.
or, someone in your family with heart condition or anything like that, and something like
Mhm.
this happens, just be aware, just look for signs. I know I certainly will, from now on.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
couldn't
No, there.
prevent anything, but go on.
Right. No, no, no. Absolutely. To your point, it's like though it's we tend to look for this in people who are older, but you can be in your 40s or even 30s and have a stroke if you have a pre-existing heart condition or the right situations. In fact, when you were talking about what are the symptoms, I even thought about it. I'm like, I don't know that I would necessarily discern a lot of what are symptoms. I mean, most of us would think, okay, something's wrong when someone's completely just confused about what's going on. They can't speak properly. If there's there's a noticeable droop. But took the liberty to pull up some of the symptoms.
Mm.
And this is not obviously this is just sort of a broader spectrum, but not necessarily everyone's going to have these symptoms. But muscular issues are going to be difficulty walking, instability, paralysis with weak muscles, problems with coordination, stiff muscles, overactive reflexes, or paralysis of one side of the body.
Mm.
Visual issues or symptoms can be blurred vision, double vision, sudden visual loss, or temporary loss of vision in one eye. Speech can be difficulty speaking, slurred difficulty speaking. That's probably
That's
not
difficult.
correct. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, difficulty speaking, slurred speech, or speech loss. They say whole body is fatigue. Like if you apparently just being fatigued is in itself a sign of possible stroke. Lightheadedness, vertigo. These are all symptoms. Numbness or weakness in the limbs, the sensory, the sensation of pins and needles, or reduced sensation of touch. Obviously, in the face, muscle weakness or numbness. Also common, difficulty swallowing, as you had noted. Headache, inability to understand, again, mental confusion, rapid involuntary eye movement. Those are the most common symptoms of a stroke.
Yeah.
So for everyone, obviously, we're not saying if you necessarily have a symptom of one of these that you're having a stroke, but we're saying, or someone you love is having a stroke, we are saying please take them to the hospital. We don't know. Just go. At the end of the day, if catching something early, I've seen this in my family. The earlier you catch something, the better opportunity you have of something of it being a positive outcome, versus it being catastrophic. I've seen catastrophic in my side as well. So just saying, these are symptoms. Go look them up. If you think it could even possibly be, it is better to go and have someone check it out and make certain it's fine than to ignore it and be wrong. So just one of those things. Let's be aware for yourselves, for our families, for our friends. Because again, sometimes there's that friend who maybe is away from family, and again, some of their 30s and 40s can have these same symptoms. They can have a stroke. A stroke is not limited to one age group. So let's just stay aware. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So he now has to have speech therapy, and then he's having to. They're giving him liquid now through a straw just to retrain his swallowing to do all that, and physio for walking. So, definitely the quicker you can do it, the better. But yeah, you can't plan these things, or but it just makes me think, should I go and do a first aid course? Should I, look into stuff more? But they're just experiences that you're not equipped to deal with. But you wish later that you had more experience. But hopefully he'll be all right, and he's in the best place at the moment. Jean Hudson says here, I read on Facebook 4 years ago about how women's heart attacks are different from men's, and 4 days later my 28-year-old daughter called me and thought she'd strained a muscle, but I made her go in.
Yes, this is absolutely true. The women who have a heart attack, it is a very different thing from men's. First symptoms go. That's absolutely correct.
She had a widow make a heart attack and said she wouldn't make it. I wouldn't hear that. And she left the hospital with heart working 28% on a life vest 4 years later, still going strong. That's amazing. That's really good.
Wow.
And quick thinking of you to say that. Just get to the hospital and get it checked out. Killed by Bigfoot. Maybe just go and get yourself checked out. It's got every symptom of every ailment. That's hard going. Just wanted to, before I miss it, just to, yes, I'm 100% not English.
Or are you just super English?
Super English. Yeah, I could be. Could be, hey.
Because, we're the English, right? The English are Anglo-Saxons. I mean, this all goes back. So maybe you're just, what you are is sort of like a new English person.
Right. Okay. Well,
Super English.
I'll think
But
about that. It
but
sounds
but back but back to your question of should you take a first aid course? I'm going to tell you, yeah. I'm going to say yes. We should all take first aid courses. I'm not saying you need to learn how to perform brain surgery or anything, but being able to set a splint, right, to set an injury, knowing how
why
to
not
treat.
do this in school? Do it with the kids. First aid course. Every kid.
How much trouble do I want to get in tonight?
Go on, to go for it. I mean,
All right,
bank
because
holiday Monday tomorrow, so I've got all night.
there you go. So yeah, well, because the modern education system has nothing to do with educating children, it has more to do about creating a compliant society.
There you go.
It, a dependent, compliant, independent society. That's why we got rid of shop class. That's why we got rid of home ec. That's why we don't teach people how to do actual things. That's why we promoted college, but we didn't promote trade schools. Well, the problem is we promoted college so much that now the that most people who are going into college are having to take a lot of remedial courses or stuff that you were supposed to learn in high school. The your standard bachelor's doesn't mean anything anymore. They will tell you that. That's why you got to get the master's, because the bachelor's is where the high school was 40 years ago. In fact, you learned more. And you want to know, just go look at any textbook from the turn of the century, not the 21st century, but the 20th century. It will shock you what you were expected to know by the 6th grade. Like people say, oh, my grandfather or great grandfather only had a 6th grade education. Your grandfather's 6th grade education is stuff that college and even master's awardees couldn't do. They actually took what was it? It was the literature and language arts textbook from like 1910. For a 6th grader, they took it to Harvard, and they had or the English majors at Harvard take it, and they flunked the test.
All right.
So yeah, long story short, why aren't we doing these things? Why aren't we learning these things in school? Because our schools are not really designed for that. They're designed to make us compliant and dependent. That's what they're designed to do. Anything that would give us freedom, anything that would give us, actual useful skills, that's not on the board.
Yeah, life skills. That's what you need when as soon as you start growing up, isn't it? You need to start learning all the skills you need that you don't, like you say, don't learn in school. First aid. I know they do cooking and stuff like that, but to learn from home, if you can, pick up skills. I don't know, but I just feel like the schools are rubbish for actually teaching us what we need in life when the going gets tough. When you need to survive and need to be able to do stuff. We're just not doing it, are we, for them? Donald Fuller, how you doing? I did Red Cross CPR training back in the 1990s for a job I had at the time. It's a good point. Do you remember your training from the 90s? And I think it's still the same. I mean, I learned stuff in school. I've got a clue now what I did in school. Yep. How people take that knowledge from then and to now. I mean, if you're not doing it, how do you remember?
Well, and that's the other point, which is why, taking courses it's something good to do. We're all adults, so it'll probably last longer for us. But they should be part of schools. But then there are manuals that you can get where it's like, hey, in case of emergencies, and that's something we should all have on hand, right? We have to start learning to become more self-prepared. And then also, again, because we're not going to be able to remember everything. That's why you have manuals and things like that on hand. And again, get them on paper, because you may be in a situation where this thing doesn't work anymore, right? Like right now, I can pull up anything I want, but there's going to come a point when that's not there anymore. So, or you don't have access to it. So, have it on hand. You should, again, there's simple things. Everyone should always have a bug out bag in the car where you can last for 38 hours or 32 hours, whatever it is. You're supposed to be able to go for 3 days. You should always have that in your car because you don't know when something bad is going to happen. You should always have flares.
Have a map. Have a map, an actual map.
An actual map. Yeah, exactly. I mean, these are things that we just don't do anymore, but we did 40, 50 years ago. By the way, my daughter actually did take a CPR class recently. And yes, the technology has changed. And they do things now with, they have those defibrillators that they're just on hand. You learn how to use those. And again, like my years ago when they first got them, our church had one put in, and we all looked at it like, well, what are we supposed to do with this? Right? Like, okay, great, it's a defibrillator, but you have to walk through that process. They're not. I mean, they're really simple and easy to use, but you still kind of have to make certain you're doing it right because you don't want to kill the person you're defibrillating, and plus to know when to use it. So, I mean, the simple fact of the matter is, we should all be looking at taking some of these basic courses to be aware, because at the end of the day, we can have the greatest of everything, but if you don't know to go in to use it, then it's useless to you anyway.
Yeah. Judy Wheeler makes a good point. Really need not to depend on just our schools. We can teach our children life skills at home right now. Schools are dealing with the pandemic. And also, once upon a time, communities would you not use the people there who had the skills to do the jobs they need to do, and in an exchange for you doing yours? I mean, bringing up your children with those skills of people around them is really lost now. I don't know. I mean, everything's changed though, hasn't it? Everything's now just gone computerized almost, or technical, or just not as hands-on anymore.
Well, again, communities used to be limited to how far you could go, right? And the problem is, most of us now, when we were driving to work, we could be driving 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes. I was driving 40 minutes to an hour for most of my jobs, because where I wanted to live and where the jobs had to go were usually two different places. We no longer have that sense of community in a lot of places because of the fact that we're so highly mobile. So we don't really even know our neighbors anymore. And we're working, and again, when we work at different hours, we're working in different schedules. There is no more, everyone works 9 to 5 in an area that's nearby, or is in a community where they know everyone. That's just not the way we're living. And what it's done is it's caused this breakup. Like you said, we don't know who has these skills anymore. We don't know who, we can't just call up our neighbor and be like, hey, I know XYZ. Could you double check this? Like when I broke my arm as a kid, we realized, okay, it was bad. Well, we had a nurse who lived next door, and we asked her to look at it. She said, yeah, it needs to go get fixed. Or you need to go have a cast put on. I don't know who's a nurse nearby or a doctor or anyone. It's like, I know like that neighbor and that neighbor just moved. I'm kind of out. Now, again, I was driving an hour to work up until recently, so I have an excuse not to know anyone around me. But the problem is I just don't know these people. I mean, and that's because of how we've lived, and that's a real issue.
Yeah. Before it goes in that bug out bag, don't forget tire repair kit and all the fluids too.
So again, that's true. And I already have that. I consider it separate. I'm like, you should already have that in your car, because you think you're not going to hit a nail. You think you're not going to have any of these other issues. I mean, again, I grew up a mechanic, so I expect all that stuff to be in my car already. I'm just learning the bug of it. But again, that's a good point. I would have assumed it. That's because my father was a mechanic. I know these things happen. So I've already got that in my car. Jumper cables, they've all got to be there. But how many people don't have those things because they never stop to think, well, what happens if I get a nail in my tire?
Exactly. This Scottish woman, when I finally left school, it learnt me one thing that I'd just wasted 11 years of my life going to school. Now, I'm just taking a wild guess here, but I'm presuming that maybe you didn't go on to college or uni. Maybe it was at a time when, I don't know, I think 70s, 80s, 90s. I don't know how old you are. I'm not trying to But in that kind of time,
Hmm.
a lot of people left school and just found a job. There was
Yeah.
lots of work about that. A lot of people were. It wasn't. I don't remember being pushed to go to college. I did go to college, and I failed everything. I didn't do very well at school at all. I think I got F for fail in most of the exams. So, but my
Hmm.
mind wasn't for learning. I
Yeah.
wanted to work, and I'd been brought up working quite young with my parents in the restaurant, and
Yeah.
so I had a different kind of mindset. I think a lot of people do that, and maybe those
Hmm.
people have learn a bit more about life than those that then go on to college and then go on to university. We have a different system here, I guess. It's pretty much the same, but
Yeah.
it will be, but just called different. But I mean, I don't
Right.
know if that's something to do with, were people more, adapted with things from a certain era than maybe people who were leaving school in early 2000 or
Hmm.
mid 90s. I don't know.
Well, I think the again, the problem is, all right, since we're getting into trouble anyway. The the problem is, at some point over the last century, there was a decision made as to how society should work, and we abandoned production. And this is all Western nations, really. Basically, it's like we sort of abandoned the idea of 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 actual hard work. Now, don't get me wrong; these people do exist. These jobs still exist. They're out there. The problem is as a broader society, we all got sold a bill of goods that there is one pathway. This is how you do it. This is because they at some point someone decided somewhere that we could be Rome. And here's what I mean by that. At the height of the Roman Empire, the city of Rome produced nothing at all. All of the food, all of the textiles, everything was brought in. Rome produced nothing for centuries. And a lot of people point to that being the reason that for that aspect of its collapse was the city itself didn't produce anything. It was literally just a it was just about being sort of this head of commerce. The problem is that made it dependent on everything, and that's so any real strain on that actually caused a lot of problems for Rome. We've very much become the same way. We at some point our societies decided that we can all become um, we're all supposed to go off to college. We're all supposed to get jobs in an office and work at a machine that tells us what to do. That was the idea. And the problem is that's not how the real world works. We need people who are welders. We need mechanics. My father was a mechanic. We need AC techs. We need people who are carpenters, masons, stone masons. I know there's a slight difference. People who work concrete. We do need all kinds of people to do all kinds of things that don't require you going getting a 4-year degree.
Mm.
It doesn't make you smarter or dumber. It just means that job doesn't require that. It means it requires you to go learn a bunch of other things, though. And we need to allow people the freedom to do that. We need to show them in high school. By the way, you suck at typing, but you're really good at working on cars because you tried auto. You were really good with woodworking because you tried you got shop class. You may even find interest in stuff that these kids, they don't even get a chance to find interest in these things anymore. They don't know that they've got an interest in this stuff because the schools aren't even there to do it. And now that and you say, yeah, we're supposed to do it we should be doing this in our homes, and we do. But so many kids, I'm telling you, my wife is a tutor. There are so many kids going to these. Again, this is just my wife's experience, but there are so many kids who are coming from single parent households, or they're being raised by their grandparents. They don't have the same opportunities.
Mm.
That's a big problem because now they don't. Now there's no the home life isn't there to give them those other extra opportunities. So again, schools, we got as a society, we get sold a bill of goods, and we got to return to this where we're learning home ec, We're learning. They're taking shop. They're being given the opportunity to say, "Hey, maybe I do want to weld. Welding is awesome," or I do want to become a doctor or a lawyer. Or some people are like, well, maybe I just, I like working with my hands. Maybe there are these other kinds of jobs out there. I want to become a chef. I want to learn. They need to experience things that will actually help them in the world. Figure out who and what they want to be, not what somebody somewhere thinks everyone's supposed to be. So they get real jobs. Like one of the big things that came out during the pandemic was we didn't make half of the medicines we need. It's all coming out of China. It's like, guys, that's a bad idea for a lot of reasons. But we got to get back to the idea that we're supposed to be able to produce things. We're supposed to be able to work. And our school systems have completely let an entire multiple generations now down in that. And it comes up with, like you said, we don't know what to look for in our friends or families if they're having an issue. And if they do have an issue, we don't know necessarily how to handle it. And that leaves us in very bad situations. Now, that being said, I also say we have to take the responsibility, because even when we do realize, hey, when you take them to the hospital, and doctor, always double check your doctors, right? Just because they're a doctor doesn't mean, hey, again, bypassing the whole doctor thing for 2 seconds. Some of the most worthless people I've ever known have gone to college and did pretty dang well. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. It doesn't make you anything. None of these things make you good. It just, we got to be taking that responsibility to say, you know what, maybe this doctor doesn't know what they're talking about. But then we need the education to learn that.
Yeah. I actually have mentioned the stroke to the doctor because I don't think they were picking up on it. And but that's just, things happen, don't they? But I'm glad I said it, obviously, because it was. But yeah, going back to what you were just saying then as well, when I was at school in the last 2 years, we had something called work experience where you got to go to a place to work for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think I did mine in a tax office, a woman who was a self-employed woman who had a tax business. I won't tell you what year it was because you'll. It's so long ago. There wasn't computers, put it that way.
Well, it is Britain, so that could have been like 1995, 98.
Yeah, that's okay. And the other year was in the town hall in like the rent, council rent department or something like that, collections or something. I can't quite remember now, but that was fun. You just felt like the reality of like having to go to work and do your thing. And but yeah, there's a lot. Just, I don't know. It's just life, though, isn't it? It's just, we can't plan for everything, but I think there's a lot more that we can be prepared for. But then again, it does come with experience, doesn't it? And until you get to experience things like defibrillator, if you've no idea how to use it,
but that's what school's supposed to do. It's supposed to be the thing that gives you these experiences, right? And again, like you said, you're never supposed to stop learning, but you should at least experience enough to know to go one way or the other to broaden your mind. I think maybe this comes down to I'm probably going to misuse the word or mispronounce this word terribly because I am a Texan. It's probably infantilization of our society. We're trying to avoid responsibility. Or let me rephrase this: we've created an entire society around accepting responsibility. So we try to prevent children from accepting responsibility for things, and it's infantilizing. There's no, hey, I need to be responsible for my own life. I need to make my own decisions. I'm the one who's to blame. I'm the one who needs to make the call. It's always, well, someone else has got to make the call, right? There was a number of popular YouTube stars and celebrities in general a couple of months ago that they were, again, I don't want to get into COVID, but my point is they literally just sat there and said, what's so hard about this? You sit down, you listen to what the TV tells you every 2 weeks, and you do what they say. You should never do that for anything, ever. I don't care what it is. It's your life, your responsibility. Now, maybe that means going to the doctor and finding a doctor you can trust and say, hey, is XYZ for me? Right? Should I take this or that? Work with your doctor. Someone off in some distant office, thousands of miles away, cannot randomly decide what is good for you that day. They don't know your medical history. They don't know your lifestyle. They don't know what you may or may not be allergic to. The simple fact of the matter is that this mentality of, well, I'll just sit back and let someone tell me what to do is the worst possible mentality you could have. But it's the mentality of someone who's an infant. Infants and children. They're like, well, I'm waiting for somebody to tell me what to do because I don't know anything because the universe is big and I'm new. Well, okay, that's great when you're 2 years old, but when you're 23 or 43, you better damn well know what's happening in the world around you.
There's just so much going on now, though, isn't there, with the internet? That, you know, and I think back now, before the internet, we didn't know anything unless you went to the library or you knew someone who knew
catalogs.
Yeah, I mean, you just didn't know anything. I remember I was on this diet. My mum put me, because I liked food, obviously, when I was younger. But my mum had put me on this diet. It was an American diet, and the in recipe instructions was to broil the fish and chicken, and we hadn't got a clue what broiling meant, and so we boiled it. You know, I was having boiled chicken and fish, but it means to grill.
Yeah.
But we didn't know. I mean, I lost weight, definitely, because everything was just boiled. It was a great diet, not what it was intended, you know, to lose that much weight. But we didn't know what it meant and how we didn't know who to ask because it's an American thing, you know. I mean, I don't know. There's so much info out there now, but are we still any wiser?
No. I forget the name of the book, if I can, or the name of the author. There's several books. It's called one of them is called how the news is making us dumber. There's several books along those lines, but the entire point is when you live in this 24-hour news cycle, everything's reset. You never actually learn perspective. You never learn how to think through the issue. It's all what is now. How is this going? And so at no point has anyone ever stopped to say, hold up. 2 weeks ago, you said this was bad. Now you're saying this is good. And you're going to say something different a week from now. What is going on here? And we're even being trained not to talk about things. Like the Facebook actually, I think it was a week or so ago, maybe a month ago now. But Facebook actually flagged the CDC as false information. It's like, what? There's a gentleman, I just forgot his name. Anyway, he was actually banned from Twitter for saying that they're going to require booster shots, and then 2 weeks later, the CDC comes out and says we need to have booster shots. It's like we're actually being told literally not to have conversations anymore, not to work through these things. So your question is, we have all this information, but is it making us wiser? No. In fact, I would argue it's making us dumber because now we can't even keep track of it anymore. And we can't even talk about it. You can't even have that conversation. So it's like, well, you're just supposed to do what they tell you to do. That's not smarter or wiser. That's a dangerous precedent that we're living in right now.
How many people, you know, on Facebook just share an image that's got some writing on it that looks like it's a fact? It's got a percentage number on it. It's got some words on it. And, you know, if this and that. Somebody sent something to me. I think it was in, I don't know, they posted it on their wall, and it was about how sunglasses were giving you cancer to the eyes. And it was just, you know, a picture of Ray-Bans and this information just written on it. And I looked into it, and it's just absolute rubbish. And I wrote to her and I went, this is just absolute, you know, I can't say the word. I'm too tired to even cover it up, but I just went, hey. blip, 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 blip. And she went, well, that's, down to you to do the person to do the research. And I thought, well, you obviously haven't researched it, and you've just now sent it out. Someone had even commented, oh my God, I'm going to cancel my appointment to Specsavers. It's like, no, go to the opticians if you need to go. Don't just believe because someone's shared an image with some words on. There's no source, there's no nothing. It's just this image. It makes you think, oh no. Most of it is just complete and utter rubbish.
Yeah.
And just double think. Think twice, So
here's the problem, right? And this is sort of the bigger issue. Let's go back to the 90s, 80s, 70s. For those of you who were alive in the 70s, something appeared in your newspaper. You expected it to be at least somewhat true. They appeared in a book, right? This is the science journal says this. The problem is a lot of that was all bad information too. I mean, really, it's like a lot of this was bad information. It wasn't because we just didn't have, the proper technology for measuring. It was just bad science or bad whatever, bad news making. And so the problem is, it's just the issue has been essentially pole vaulted into the fact that it's all instantaneous, all worldwide. It's like we assume it was better back in the day. It wasn't really better back in the day. It was just less obvious to us. We didn't get counter information as fast. We couldn't go and look up other articles, right, and say, hold on, here's a bunch of articles, showing this article over here is full of crap. We can do that now. And so the problem is, a lot of this stuff would have gotten passed 20, 30 years ago. But then you throw in, and that's just the stuff that's done with, good intent. That's not counting trolls. That's not counting people who just want to get away with having, some people just really want to watch the world burn, so they'll throw that crap out there. And then you get crazy people. And then crazy people are like, well, okay, if you boil your butt in cabbage juice for 3 hours.
Yeah. It's going to fix
it.
You're going to lose 20 pounds and
your glaucoma will be fixed. And exactly.
So will still go.
Yep. I mean, so that's the problem.
It's a dangerous world out there when you get on the internet and just, where do you go? You go to something solid, official. If you want to know about, nutrition and stuff like that, go to a library and or go and talk to a nutritionalist or, look into things a bit more before you share a bit of advice. Or I'm pretty sure I've given terrible advice in the past to people and thought I was a smart ass, and oops. And it's bad advice. So now I just, don't vote for someone based on a meme. Don't make health decisions based on a meme. Don't do anything in your life based on a meme. I don't care what the meme says. Leave it alone. The meme is a meme. Go live your own life, make your own decisions, do your own research. But unfortunately, doing your own research does not, sometimes you have to realize there's a time when the fringe person has a point, and there's a time when the fringe person is just a nutcase. There is make the best decision you can, learn a little bit about how to actually process these things, and go with it. Because sometimes the fringe dude is right? Sometimes.
But then there's also, again, I just said there are times when they're right. There are other times when, again, they're telling you to boil your cabbage, and then take that boiling cabbage water and give yourself an enema with it. I assure you, that's a bad idea.
Definitely. Even if it works for you.
By the way, even if it worked for you, even if boiled cabbage juice enema works for you, it may not work for everyone else.
Exactly.
But so again, it goes back to, though, look at Kellogg. Have you ever done a deep dive where we get Kellogg's cornflakes? The dude Kellogg himself that sort of started the whole health craze Have you heard some stuff that he did? It was
No,
insane.
your internet's going a
Okay,
bit funny. Are you having
yeah,
weather?
it is.
Okay.
I think unfortunately we're getting some weather out here now finally,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
it's affecting some stuff. Yeah, so that's a conversation for a whole other show, because it was nuts. But the problem is, we call it nuts today, but they're 20 years from now, they're going to look at some of the stuff we're doing today and think, why in the world would you put botulism in your face?
I know. Yes. And your other part, all those extra bits that people think they need. It's strange, isn't it, what we're doing to ourselves and just not looking like we should look, because we think we need to look like something else. I mean, that is a real issue for some people, I think. It's such a shame that people struggle to accept themselves as they are, because we've all got, sometimes those bits are the best bits as well to other people, you know, that you think aren't good enough. But that's another show anyway.
Whole
I know
show.
a whole nother show. That and Kellogg's, we'll get into that. Surgery, body surgery and Kellogg's. I think a lot of people are getting hit by a bit of weather. We're getting some odd comments. I hope everyone's going to be all right. And is it going to pass quickly? I mean, how's it working? Is it?
So again, unfortunately, with hurricanes, they tend to slow down once they hit the mainland. Again, we're here in Texas, we're on the outside of it, but the problem is the spin-offs, tornadoes, and things like that. Like, it's basically going to go straight through. It's going sort of up between Louisiana and Mississippi. That's where it's predicted to go. So, like I said, I mean, we're getting rain stuff from it, but not major. But issues with power and things that does affect everyone, sort of. So it'll slow down. So, probably by the next 2 or 3 days, it'll really calm down. But it's next 24, 48 hours is going to be kind of hard. Maybe 72 hours, it'll be hard.
Okay. Well, I hope everyone is okay and stays safe through all that. Sharon Guy, oh crap, wind bands just got bad. There was a few other comments I wanted to. Everyone put some prayers out for Strangeland. I think he's had a lot of. He's lost quite a few, 3 friends in the last 10 days, and a cousin passed away. That is a lot to deal with. So sorry to hear that, Todd. Yeah, it's all a bit. Everyone's having a bit of not everyone, but it's just a funny time, isn't it? Coming out of this lockdown stuff, and I don't think people are the same anymore. I think it's really affected people in more ways than we can imagine. A long-term, effects of isolation, basically.
No, it has, and it's affected kids the most. In a lot of ways, we're seeing huge increases in suicidality rates, things like that. I unfortunately had a chance to see that up close recently. So, I mean, it's not just the isolation, though. I think there again. This goes back to whoever it was that decided, schools didn't need to actually teach kids to be educated, but rather just to be drones. What's the comedian? I just forgot his name. I can see his face. George Carlin. He said they don't want you educated. They want you just smart enough to push buttons and pay your taxes, right? There's the same group of people. I think they pushed something with this lockdown that really wasn't necessary, and I think the problem is our society's being divided even more by those who just want to be told what to do, and those people who are like, I don't buy this story anymore. Like, we know we're being lied to, and I think that's the bigger issue here is we're really seeing a real stratification. It's not even necessarily along politics or religion, but rather people are saying, hey, hold up, I need to be taking responsibility for my life because these jokers clearly don't care. And I mean, it's like I've spent literally the last 2 weeks talking about Afghanistan and my other stuff. I don't even want to talk about that. But but I mean, even that's a number one example of they do not care about you. If you, if your bank account has less than a couple $1 billion in it, there isn't a single politician in the world who gives a damn about you. Straight up. That's what the lockdown should show you. If you're a mom and pop store, they don't care about you. They care about Walmart. If you worked your entire life to build up this little shop to service your neighborhood, they don't care. They will shut you down. It doesn't matter where you are, who you are, your race, your color. It's about money. If you got a couple $1 billion, they care about you. All the rest of us, we are expendable. We're cattle to them, and that's what they've shown. And I think the problem is there are the people who are finally starting to realize that, and then there's the people who are like, no, I just want to be told what to do. And that's where it's becoming. I think that's really where the friction is coming from, because you got one group of people looking at everyone's like, are you out of your mind? Do you not see what they're doing? And then you have the other people who are like, but the TV told me to do this.
Yeah, it's not good, is it?
Mm-mm.
Even Meredith was noticed. This is how crazy it is. Literally things like that. I mean, laugh at that, but people will be confused about things so basic. But you're right, they don't care about the people and the independent people who've worked hard to get what they've got. It is very sad. And like you say, in jobs as well, a lot of people aren't paid to think.
No.
They're just paid to do. And also, we don't get paid a lot, really, do we? I mean, the hourly rate, if you looked after your staff more and paid them more, pretty sure things would turn around pretty quick in your company or wherever you're at. That the morale, the feeling of worth.
Yes. Oh, exactly. The feeling of value. Well, but here's the thing, though. It's not just how much we're paid. It's that we're paid, and then Congress comes. Everybody, when you talk about not being paid to think, but paid to do, that's Congress for you. House of Commons for y'all. But it's not just the fact that pay isn't going up. It's our money is being worth less. Saving your money is about the dumbest thing you could ever do right now because of inflation. Straight up, the 8-bit Nintendo system I got as a kid is, people talk about how expensive things are now. It would be worth like twice as much in 1980s money than it is in 2000s in 2020s money. We've lost value. Inflation is how governments steal your money beyond taxation. That's how they're stealing your value, and that's something we don't even see. And people don't understand this, but people are starting to wake up to it. And again, that's really where a lot of this. And maybe this is a good thing. Maybe the conflict is necessary. Sometimes people need, you got to hit that rock bottom. I've known a lot of addicts who, unfortunately, they needed to hit rock bottom before they made changes in their life, right? It's not just drugs and alcohol. There's all kinds of things you can be addicted to. But once you hit that rock bottom, you're like, hold up. Something's not right here. I think that's kind of where we're hitting as a society. Again, unfortunately, we're hitting it, I would argue, 30 years too late, but whatever. But we're realizing that that's a problem. And so people are starting to wake up, and maybe that conflict is just the friction, the friction we can't avoid of people turning around, right? Because societies turn very, very slowly. You've got to have that movement. You got to have that pressure, and that's what we're feeling is that tension of something coming to stop and turning around. And it's painful, but hopefully maybe something good will come out of it. And that's about as optimistic as I get today. That's about as optimistic as I'm ever going to get anymore. Maybe something good will come of it. Hopefully.
Hey. Let's not try and end on a downer. Let's have the last 10 minutes of fun.
All right.
What's up?
Well, so Well, I don't know if you can even show it on the thing. Never mind.
What's
I did
that?
some, well, I did some artwork. I'm
Oh.
working on a new project,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was testing out my new little thing here, and I got some JPEGs, but I think they may be a little dark to show on screen. I'm still playing with the concept, but it'll be fun once I get a few more designs. I'll show them out. How's that?
Yeah.
Just playing with ideas and concepts right now, so it would be a fun way to end, but unfortunately, I don't think they'd really show up very well on our screens.
Okay. Well, we won't do that then.
Yeah, we won't. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No worries about that. We'll have to do something else. So, what was I going to say? Yeah, everyone. I never usually ask, but please hit the like button. It does
Yeah.
help with the old algorithms. How's your other channel going?
It's going well, actually, and I just got my website up and running. I had to make one more change to it, but it's up and running. So basically, if you want to find anything to do with me, all my other shows, my books, whatever, sirupapers.com, SIRUpapers.com. It's functional. Everything's up there. It's got a link to everything, and I even have a link to my Bible study up there as well. So everything else is going well. We're starting some things. I'm hoping by next month I can start doing more produced episodes. Right now it's just me talking here, making, explaining things, but eventually I would like to do more produced things. Like why does the Bible talk about unicorns? Like, where does that come from? What does it mean? uh it talks about the cockatrix. Is that actually a cockatrix, or is it something else? And then we'll go into things like, where have the living pterodactyls, where have they been all this time? Like, people are seeing them. Where have they been? Well, the thing is, we've known about them forever. You just called them by a bunch of different names. So we're going to do more produced. You can actually see the images. You can see the history of these things. It'll be a lot of fun. Right now it's just me, talking from my desk to the camera.
Yeah, somewhat different. No.
No.
But no, it's good. It's good. Jason's new channel is awesome, from Ruger Ridge. So, Meredith.
I'll pay you back later, Ruger.
Yeah. Meredith is laughing her butt off. Did you get on that film?
I don't know what film she's referring to.
Oh yeah. I bet I can guess.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know, Meredith. What's the channel? It's Siru Papers.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, but you can find links to everything at sirupapers.com. SIRUpapers.com.
Yeah, I put it in the link there. And also his other channel is Not Another Bible Study. That's in the description. Otis Firefly, hello from Wales. Oh, you're up late.
Oh,
yeah, that's tomorrow though. So
yeah, that's late.
Can all have a lie-in. Killed. Danielle just. Oh right, okay. I couldn't work out. I just saw that very briefly, and I thought, what? Any more comments? Siru Papers. Okay. Yep. Should we? Do you want me to put a link in the description? I'll tell you what. I'll find the link on YouTube and put that in, and then everybody's got it. I'm doing a drawing Bigfoot on BIGFOOT Odyssey on Tuesday.
Oh,
cool. Actually, what was cool was last night's show, where I had 4 different guys on that are all communicating with Sasquatch in one form or another, mind speak,
yes,
whatever you want to call it, through glyphs, and it was pretty fascinating. This is Jason's link now to his YouTube channel in the chat there. And I don't want to give too much away, but the guy who's coming on drawing Bigfoot, he kind of was hunting. He was out hunting, kind of walked up on a Bigfoot that was kind of behind a tree, also looking at deer.
Nice.
But when it turned round, he hadn't a clue. He was still trying to work out what it was as it had its back to him. But as it turned around, it communicated in a certain way. I want people to come and watch it.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild what it did. I've never heard of it doing that before, and it really just shows its intelligence to this thing that it did. It wasn't a woo thing. It was just something. It's a fascinating account, and he was absolutely terrified. But he's going to come on Tuesday and do Drawing Bigfoot, which was great last week. I really enjoyed it.
It sounds like it's going to be a fun episode.
Yeah. I think it'll be an emotional one. I just don't, I've come to realise that it's quite a feat for people to sit there and talk about it and then see it come into life on a piece of paper. But it's very interesting process, and I'm enjoying them. So what have you got coming up this week then? You've got a couple of shows?
Yeah. I think we've got Larry Porch on Monday, and someone else. I forget off the top of my head, unfortunately. That's Rob's channel, or Rob's thing. He's the one who keeps everyone in line. I just show up to look sexy. That's what I do.
Of course.
And then Thursdays are normal for me. I think we're back in Genesis 14. We may be doing like 2 or 3 chapters at one time because we've sort of hit a narrative section. But again, I'm always hanging around doing something, having fun.
Sounds good to me. So, well, we'll call it. We're almost there, aren't we? I'm just starting to get tired because I've had a long day. I've had a long few days.
Yes, you have.
But I wanted to do tonight. I wanted to come on, and because it feels like I need to at least show my face on my channel once a week, at the very least.
Well, you get to have fun here. This is not it's a relaxing thing. We get to chit chat and
definitely.
You don't get to talk about the weird things Dr. Kellogg did on a Bigfoot Odyssey.
Exactly. We need to talk about that next time. The Kellogg's, and there was another thing, wasn't there?
Something else.
Yeah,
Kellogg. We'll talk about Kellogg's. They're enough fun.
Yeah. All right then. So everyone, stay safe through this storm. Thinking of everyone who's going through something. Thanks for your comments tonight. Sorry if I've missed anything. I'm glad we got you through that. Killed by Bigfoot.
Yeah,
that's the job I need to do. But if I could do it at the same time, that would be great. But there's not enough room on the desk. And a bit of ironing. I mean, I don't iron. Do you iron? No. Kills? Anybody iron anymore? I mean, I don't. I just hang stuff up or fold it up.
That's where I'm at. Yeah, most things don't need to be. Well, a lot of things don't even need to be ironed anymore. Really?
No, people just do it though, don't they? Some people just do it. Socks, everything. I mean, just fold it.
Yeah.
Just time you can save. But we'll do that on another show. Top tips, household tips, something like that. All right, everyone, take care, and I'll see you all in the week. Good night.
Bye, everyone.